This interview is part of the History Heard project. The content of this interview may be used for historical research. However, no part of the video itself may be reproduced without the express written permission of an authorized representative of History Heard or Mark Thompson. Today is January 7th, 2010 at 9 a.m. This is an interview with Mark Thompson in Longboat Key, Florida. He was born on March 25th, 1953 in New Haven, Connecticut. In our research, we found out that you had the chance to spend the time on the USS Jarrett, and you were able to interview the first female Navy commander, Kathy McGrath. And so can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. military, the U.S. Navy has lots of different categories of ships. Right. There had been captains of salvage ships, which are sort of very important, but they're not warships. Kathy McGrath was the first commander of a U.S. warship. Now, I had interviewed the first female commander of a non-warship, Darlene Iskra, maybe 20 years ago in Little Creek, Virginia. And that was a neat story because she, was a trailblazer, and trailblazers innately are newsworthy. And then I learned a batch of 5 women had been promoted in the Navy, and they were all going to get ship assignments. Only one of them got a warship, and it was Kathy McGrath. And she was really nervous. She didn't want to be interviewed. So I had to fly up to Newport, Rhode Island, where she was undergoing a course to allow her to take command of a ship. We went out to dinner and just chatted. This was a year or two before she actually took command, but I sort of, we hit it off okay, and I kept pestering her and her aides for the next year, saying, when is she going to be ready? When is she going to be? And finally, it ended up that her ship, the Jarrett, was to be deployed to the Persian Gulf to run intercept operations against oil smuggling. And she was leaving San Diego in spring of 2000, and so she finally acceded and let me come there. I think in January of 2000, I went out by helicopter to her vessel where they were doing some war games, and spent 3 or 4 days with her and her crew, and actually spent a lot of time with families back on shore before I went out there. Like, what does your dad think about having a lady as the captain of the ship? And got a lot of neat stuff. We did a big story on it in the magazine the very week that the vessel left San Diego bound for the Persian Gulf. And she was a wonderful person. Her father had been in the Air Force. She had some military heritage, but she was very low-key. She wasn't like what you might think if you had to envision in your own mind. She wasn't like Popeye the Sailor Man. She was a woman, but she was also a captain of this vessel. And unfortunately, she had cancer a couple of years ago and passed on, and is now buried in Arlington Memorial Cemetery. And there is an effort underway to name a warship in her honor, which may take decades, but I think it's going to happen. So it was just a very great story to be a part of, and it's a sort of story that will live forever because people send it around all the time. It's on a lot of websites because women are interested in it, sailors are interested in it. It's one of those stories that sort of captures the zeitgeist.